Welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning, where we help prepare folks for labor and birth with expertise coming from 20 years of experience in a busy doula practice, helping thousands of people prepare for labor, providing essential knowledge and tools for positive and empowering birth experiences.
Hello to you. Hope you're doing well wherever you are, whenever you are listening to this. Welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast. My name is Angie Rozier. I'm your host. And as always, happy to be with you here today talking about all things birth, breastfeeding, postpartum, that time of life. So today's topic is we're going to call it precipitous birth. So I want to chat a little bit about that, what it is, how to prepare for it. I tell a couple stories. I've seen this happen many times, and it's quite a ride. It's hard to prepare for, but it can happen. So, we do, like, when you prepare for birth and labor, there's like textbook normal stuff where you prepare for things, and we're usually taught about the stages of labor, that there's early labor, active labor, transition, second stage, which is pushing, third stage, which is placenta, right? And these have basic timelines. A lot of times we'll say, labor can last X amount of hours, anywhere from 6 to 18 hours. And it, can last days, honestly. So you've probably heard of stories. They go viral pretty quick. There's some videos. I wonder, honestly, if some people kind of script these videos sometimes, but we've all heard of stories where a baby is born in the car, a baby is born in the lobby, a baby is born at home unintentionally, a baby was born in the elevator. Like, babies honestly can be born anywhere. And birth, I like to look at birth as this big overarching event of humanity. Birth is big, right? It's bigger than any of us, and it just happens. Like, we can't always predict it, and we can't always control it. Like, it's bigger than any of our sciences and our systems and our policies. Like, birth is its own thing, right? So yes, sometimes babies can be born in the car. Is that a bad thing? It's not ideal, but it's not bad. Sometimes they can be born in the bathroom or before a midwife or a provider arrives. That is normal. Sometimes we look at that in our systems as a failure, but I don't look at it as a failure. It's just how birth works sometimes, right? So I kind of want to normalize that concept, take away some of the fear about it, kind of address some of the curiosity about it. And when we say people have fast labors, sometimes it is remarkably fast. And what is so wickedly ironic is sometimes it is remarkably slow, right? That's what's so cool about birth, is like it can go all the ways. And sometimes, we have, honestly, labors dragging on for days, and people are working incredibly hard for days. That's wild. It's unfair. It's hard. And then sometimes we have birth that is so fast, like unimaginably fast. Also wild, a little bit unfair. And some people say, that's amazing. That sounds great. That sounds ideal. It's fast. You're done. But it's kind of a little bit more complex than that as we talk about precipitous birth. So, precipitous birth is a labor and delivery, so all the stages pressed into a short time frame that's typically loosely within 3 hours of the first signs of labor, right? There's not a hard definition for that necessarily. Sometimes it's less than 3 hours, but you don't have a lot of lead time. So things move pretty quickly. Where normal labor lasts, we're talking active labor, right? 6 to 18 hours to 24 to 30, like all these common time frames. And this all depends on, is it your first baby? Is it your fourth baby, right? Is it your second baby? Like, first babies tend to be a little bit slower, of course. And after that, it a lot of times can pick up. Not all the time, of course, but it can. So this isn't just like being efficient. This is like intense. It's kind of sudden, and it can be a little overwhelming. We still have to accomplish the same task, which is complete dilation, getting to 10 centimeters, having the baby come down through the pelvic bones, come through the vaginal canal and out, right? So we take the same task, the same amount of work, and we condense it. So when we condense it into a short period of time, that can be kind of intense, right? We're doing a lot of work in a short amount of time. This is contractions typically starting quickly. We don't have a nice slow warm up. We have like immediate boom. We're in a contraction pattern. So not a slow gradual build up. They can be overwhelming quick. They can be kind of intense. We might get an urge to push pretty quickly, like within just a little while, and it's hard to say how long of contractions, but that urge comes on pretty quickly. And people feel like quickly like they lose control. A lot of times in our mind, we're set up to prepare for a quote unquote textbook labor, right? Contractions are kind of short and far apart. They're going to gradually work to be closer. But when they like start at 100 miles an hour, we don't warm up for them. That gets intense fast. And the immensity of just doing it is taking all your attention. There's really not a lot of time to think or to do things or to even question it or to even like not like it. Like it's just happening and you're just doing it. So there can be a little bit of shock and kind of like, holy cow, disbelief when that happens. So I have seen this many, many times. I will throughout this episode, I'll kind of share a few birth stories, precipitous birth stories that are kind of interesting. I honestly, as a doula, as a provider, in a way, I love precipitous birth because I'm in awe of it. I'm in awe of what the body can do. I'm like, that is amazing. Like the body is amazing. What I don't like about it is I kind of like to have things set up as far as like be in the place you want to be to deliver, have the people around you want to be, that you want to be with you when you deliver. And sometimes with precipitous birth, we don't get very much opportunity to organize that, to do that. So not the end of the world, but kind of a bummer because I like to, kind of be ready for that. Is precipitous birth dangerous? Like, like not necessarily. A couple things like it can, if we're going just blasting through it all, can increase tearing. If we're not like prepared and controlled for that second stage portion, the body can be kind of shocked sometimes. And this can be an emotional response and a physiologic response. Sometimes when birth is very precipitous, we might have increased risk of hemorrhaging as well. And sometimes there's emotional distress, right? Some people will look at a precipitous birth and say, oh my gosh, that was the best thing ever. I loved it. Other people will look at the same event and say, oh my gosh, that was a lot. That was a lot of chaos. That was traumatic. What just happened? And then there's a mix of all of that as well. So there's some emotional fallout sometimes as well for that. Babies sometimes can get bruised from a rapid descent when they just kind of come and hit the bottom of the pelvis on their way out. Precipitousness can cause a little bit of shocky, like breathing issues sometimes for them. And depending on the environment the baby's born in, like if we are in the car, that carries some different risks, not like big, bad, terrible risks. But we do like to be, again, in an environment, like if it's cold, right? Like if it's freezing or something outside and the baby's born there, that presents some risk if we're born in a not clean space or something because things go rapidly. So just off the top of my head, I'm going to share briefly with you some of my favorite, I don't know, most memorable precipitous birth stories, right? Some stats I looked at said this occurs in about 1 to 3% of all births. That may or may not be true. I think it might be a little bit more than that. So it's not crazy common, but it's also rare enough not to ignore, right? So also think of hospital staff. If we're in a hospital setting, because this isn't super common, and we don't always know when to expect it. Sometimes, and I hear this over and over again, people in the hospital setting don't believe the mom, right? When they're like, she's like, I gotta push, or this is going fast, because we're like, no, you got some time. But again, birth is bigger than all of us. Please trust it, respect it, be ready for anything, because anything can happen. All right, so some people who are, I want to say at risk of this because it's not like a risk thing, but it's more likely if it's not your first baby. We call that a multip or multiparous person. So they're having their second, third, fourth, whatever, anything after their first baby. So once your body has done this once, it can kind of do it faster. If they've had a history of a precipitous birth before, if we get like very strong, quick contractions, that can be a sign of it. If the baby's smaller, right? If we're having like a 9 pounder, probably not gonna have precipitous. I mean, you can, but probably not. But if we're having a little tiny guy, like a 6 or 7, high fives, low sixes, that they can kind of go through the birth canal a little bit quicker. So a couple stories I want to just highlight. So I'm just going to kind of go through some that come to the top of mind. One of my favorite ones was, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. And I had a client, she had a 2-year-old, so she'd had a baby before, and she was expecting twins. So she changed providers for to have a vaginal delivery, first of all, and to have possibly an unmedicated delivery, to have a more supported delivery. So she changed hospitals, changed providers, really set things up for how she wanted them, where she wanted them. And she was about 36, between 36 and 37 weeks. And one afternoon, her contractions just started. Their little boy was in his room. And I was not there, but as she told me this story, she said, "Oh, I put my hand on the couch," and she said whatever certain time it was at a certain time, and I'm like, "Ooh, that was a contraction," and these two little babies, 45 minutes later, were born. Right? She didn't know that was going to happen, and they were born at home. They were a little bit early, as twins sometimes are, so they weren't quite prepared. I think it was a weekend. They didn't have their bags packed. They didn't have everything in motion for their 2-year-old to get off somewhere. But she's like, "Oh wow, that was a contraction. Here comes another." She was quickly in a pattern and went upstairs to kind of get her bag ready. Was on the bathroom floor, kneeling on the floor, and one baby was born. Her husband did call emergency services and was on the phone with them when the second baby was born. They were born a few minutes apart, and they had them both lying there on the bathroom floor while the emergency services were coming. Kept their cords intact. That was giving them some good oxygenated blood flow. The little boy was, I don't know if he was napping or just in his room, but he was kind of occupied. And this was a 45-minute labor for these two little babies. They did go to the hospital. They were home within 24 hours. They got checked out. Everything was fine. So that was fast, right? That was like super fast. Another one that comes to mind is a first-time mom, which is a little more unique. So mom has not had a baby before. This is her first pregnancy. She was planning a birth center birth, and around her due date, I don't remember how close to her due date, but within a week of her due date, she started having contractions, and things started out super normal. This did not have any precipitous birth vibes yet. And they were in touch with me. They said, "Hey, contractions are doing this." We talked about a game plan. The pattern was normal for where she was at, very manageable. Kept in touch all morning. And I had an appointment to get my hair done that day. And because contractions were so far apart and so short, I decided to, with, chatting with them about it, to go ahead and get my hair done. So I went and got my hair done, and I was getting my hair colored that day, like highlights put in or something, I think, and had all the foils in my hair and everything, and had talked to him on the phone while I was under the dryer, and he told me about contractions. And then he called me like 15 minutes later, and all of a sudden she was pushing. I think my hair was getting washed out at this point, so she was pushing, and they had about an hour drive to the birth center. So I said, "Well, if that's the case, we still have some time to get to the birth center. We're often pushing for 1 to 3 hours." And he said, "No, no, no, she's like pushing, like I can see the head." So I'm on the phone with him. My head is back in a sink getting washed, and I am talking him through delivering his baby. And he told me where his wife was standing. She was over the sink in their bathroom, and I talked him through delivery, how to place his hand, how to receive the baby, what to look for. Baby went right up to mom. She kind of got down onto the floor. I was incredibly relieved when I heard the baby starting to cry. And by the way, I want to make clear, I did say to them, "You can call 911 right now. You do not need to be talking to me. You can call 911 and they can talk you through it and get EMS on the way to your house." And they said, "No, we don't want to do that." And it happened very fast. I don't know that they would have had time had they hung up from me. So this baby was born very, very fast, like I was on the phone. And if you can imagine, my poor hair lady, she was so cute. She was like, oh my gosh, you gotta go, you gotta go. So she quickly rinsed out my hair, put it up in a big clip, kind of drippy wet, left a towel around my neck. I dashed to the car and I stayed on the phone with them as I drove to their home. I gave them the option again. I said, hey, you can go to the nearest hospital. It's much closer than our birth center that's 45 minutes to an hour away. You can call EMS. They can come to your house and take you there. It's up to you guys. You can go to the birth center. And they said, we'll wait for you. Everything's fine. They did not cut the cord. They had the placenta. He had he got a Ziploc bag. He'd put it in. And mom was sitting right there. And then at this point, I'm talking to him, and I am not a trained midwife. Like, I have seen thousands of births, but I am, mind you, do not have official midwifery training, right? But talking to him about the bleeding, getting his, her some water, like keep her drinking, let's kind of replenish her. So I got there, I don't know, within about 20 minutes of the baby being born. And their game plan that they chose was to go to the birth center. So we packed up in the car. It was a little bit of a cold day, wrapped up mom and baby, got them out to the car, and I rode with them to the birth center. Had none of my stuff. Just grabbed some paper out of the back of their car and, kind of recorded our story for lots of purposes at this point. We guesstimated the time of birth because I was on the phone with him when it happened, and we guesstimated that as well as we could. Go to the birth center, everything checked out beautifully. She had they did a small repair. They were at the birth center for a few hours, and then I went home with them. So that was fast for a first-time mom. There's another couple I've helped have 4 of their 6 babies, I think. Her first baby was a standard hospital induction epidural delivery. Her second baby, however, was born in the elevator. Went really fast, like not much lead time, a precipitous birth. And so with their third baby, they wanted to plan for that. Like, if this happens again, helped them with their 3rd, 4th, and 5th babies, I believe. And because she had a history of precipitous birth with her midwives, she chose a date, and this is the trick, to choose an appropriate date so that we beat labor starting, but we kind of anticipate with the best time to do it. She was having her baby at a hospital with midwives. So she chose, I think it was 39 weeks. They were going to break her water because she had a history of precipitous birth. I think we did this twice with 2 of her babies. We went to the hospital on the appointed day, 39-ish weeks. They broke her water. We'd go walking. I remember exactly where we were, pretty far away from the labor and delivery room on our walk, and her face changed. Everything changed, how she was feeling. She's like, we gotta go, this baby's coming. So we went back to the room, kind of made our way there quickly, and the next 3 times after her water breaks, the baby would be here in 2 hours. That became a pretty predictable pattern for her. Her second to last baby, she decided to have a home, same type of labor, but did a home birth. And was very precipitous that way. There have been precipitous births that I have missed, honestly, like whether babies are born in cars. I've been with people and following them in a car, and we pull over for a minute because it sounds like the baby's coming, and then we kind of keep going. I have been at births where I've caught a couple babies not on purpose. I mean, nobody else was there. Where it was a precipitous birth. We were at a birth center, and the midwife was on her way from a home birth, and the baby's head was crowning in my hands when the midwife got there, and I was so glad she got there because that mom had a pretty quick labor. Another one I'm thinking of, this one. And, when we talk about precipitous, the whole thing's under 3 hours, but there can also be a precipitous portion of birth, right? That goes very fast at a certain time. We might have a lot of warm up, and we might be hanging out at a early stage of labor, 2, 3, 4 centimeters or whatever, and then quickly jump to the end. That has happened recently to me a few times. One kind of interesting one, I was at a home birth, and when I arrived, this was just a couple weeks ago, it sounded like the mom was going to be pushing any second. I'm like, sounds like we're going to be pushing. It's right around the corner. The midwife was there when her assistant getting everything set up. They bring in a remarkable amount of equipment. So getting everything set up, the pool was set up in the living room. Mom was in the kitchen, leaning over, making some pretty awesome sounds. She went to the bathroom. Her partner's right there, supporting her. And the midwife said, hey, let's kind of check and see where you're at. Because it sounded like we're going to be pushing any second. She checked her and said, oh, you're 3 centimeters. Baby's at a -3. Got a little bit of work to do, so I had to kind of rest. So the midwife and her assistant went to another room, kind of get some rest. I hung out with the mom, and I'm like, oh, dang it, she's working so hard, and she's at 3 centimeters. I gotta like help her through this cautiously, right? Like pace ourselves because we have some time. And some work to do, honestly. We've got 7 centimeters and 7 centimeters vertically and 7 centimeters in dilation to go. So had the mom kind of get in a comfortable spot on the couch, used a peanut ball, did some massage, kind of talked her into a state of relaxation. Not long after, she said, I need to go to the bathroom. So she and her partner got up, went to the bathroom, and then I heard this awesome, strong sound while she was on the toilet. Things had shifted for her quite quickly. Now she really was in earnest pushing. So we come back, she hops in the tub. This mom just labored with so much amazing confidence. It was her second baby. The midwives came back in and baby's crowning. So we had a baby, we were 3 centimeters, -3. 35 minutes later, we have a baby in her arms. So she'd been warming up all day, honestly, like had pretty good labor, early labor and what seemed like active labor for a few hours before we had a fast jump, right? So precipitous portion. Also, a couple weeks ago, I was at an induction of a client, a repeat client, so second baby, and she'd been hanging out at 4 centimeters all day, just hanging out, resting, moving, kind of doing all the things. She did get an epidural at one point. And for the first time in 8 hours, I decided to go out and use the restroom. And so I left at 7:30 out of the unit. We used the restroom. I was gone for less than 6 minutes. I came back into the unit and I heard a code was called to the room, and a huge little flurry of staff members was running into there. And that baby was born in that 5.5 minutes that I was gone. The nurse was in the room and trying to find the baby's fetal heart tones, and it just kind of kept going lower and lower, and the fetal heart tones just disappeared. And so she was trying to, from the outside, find them on the abdomen. Well, the baby had been born. Like the head was down. She's like, oh my gosh, here's your baby. She calls the code. Everybody rushes in. Everything was fine, so fine. It's not great decorum in our hospital world to not be prepared for when a baby comes, but it happens and it's fine. So everybody rushed in, everything was fine, baby was great. Couple's like, holy cow, what just happened? So I came in just like seconds after the baby was born. I did get to cut the cord. Neither of them wanted to, so that was kind of cool. Another one I was thinking of, I was at another state. I love this client so much and I followed them. I've been their doula for all their babies. And for their third baby, I went to a different state to help them. And labor was kind of just slowly plodding along. We were waiting and everybody decided to just bed down and kind of rest. So in the middle of the night, of course. So the dad gets all bedded down. We put a peanut ball between the mom's legs. I had an apprentice with me for this birth. We went into the waiting room right next to it and just kind of put our feet up on it. We're all just going to rest. And same thing. Baby's heart rate disappears. Nurse goes in the room. Baby is on the bed. Peanut ball did its magic. And the mom, she was dozing. She was falling asleep. And she's like, what is that sound? She heard this little funny noise. Well, guess what? It was a baby. The baby had come. So that is what's incredible about precipitous birth, is it shows me how incredible the body is, the capability, the possibilities that the body can do, right? And then we contrast that to the long, slow, difficult labors. It's just wildly different. It's just pretty amazing to me. So when I am working with someone who it's not their first baby, or they have any other interesting things, I want to prepare them for that. Now we can't totally prepare for this. We can't plan on it, right? And we can't wish for it or hope for it. And you probably wouldn't want to. It's pretty intense, but practical preparation, right? I want people to be ready. If I'm working with somebody having their second, third, fourth, 10th baby or whatever, a lot of times, whether I'm teaching a class, preparing a private client, I'll say, all right, I want you to just in your mind think what you would do. What would your plan be if you had a 45-minute labor? So if you're at work, what are you going to do? Inevitably, these people have another child. What is your plan A, B, and C for your other child, right? Who's going to answer their phone at 2 a.m? Another plan is if your partner's across town at work, what's the plan going to be? Who might be able to get you to the hospital? Where is our closest hospital if we need those kind of things? Who do you want with you? How do you get to where you want to be if things are fast? What do you want in your car with you, or what do you want at your home just in case, right? So we a lot of times we'll teach the 511 rule, 311 rule, meaning contractions are coming every 5 minutes or 3 minutes. They're lasting a minute long. That's happening for at least 1 hour. It might not be 511, it might be 711. I've had people hang out at 711, waiting to get to 5 or 4 or 311, and it doesn't happen. All of a sudden they're pushing. So wild things can happen. Kind of be aware of that. Staying close to your birth location near your due date. So if you have, don't take any trips, don't take any road trips. That are super far away from facilities, if that's the case. Have a just in case plan, right? So what do you want in your car? What's your provider contact? I have a couple of times, it's funny that dad I was telling you when I talked to him through labor, I had that happen to another client with a second baby and a home birth just like 2 weeks later. I'm like, what is going on? I talked to that dad through delivery as well. Because things went really quickly. So yeah, who do you call? Do you want dispatch to talk you through that? They have a script that'll talk you through that. Do you want your midwife to? Do you want, it doesn't have to be an emergency situation, right? We don't have to, we all want to be diligent and vigilant. I guess I made up a new word, diligent and vigilant about things. But again, realize that sometimes this can happen. So recognize some early signs when we hit it pretty hard and fast. Check out the intensity there, right? Don't minimize this. If you're like, whoa, we jumped 0 to 60 pretty quick. Or if they shift very quickly to when all the person can do who's in labor is focus on that labor. They can't communicate well. Even if they don't like this, they're just doing it, right? So that they go super internal. Sometimes we adjust to that mindset really quickly, then birth could be imminent, right? Some people, this is very empowering to them. They're like, that was so cool. Where other people like, that was so traumatic. And they might be shocked and disoriented or traumatized. So whenever this does happen, I will do a lot of sitting and processing right then, as to the extent that the people want to, right? So if there's a precipitous birth, we will go over that. We'll review timelines. We will say, holy cow, can you believe you did that? And I like to always put a positive spin on things, sometimes reframing things if it was kind of intense and emotional, traumatic perhaps. Reframe that. Say, wow, your body is amazing. Your partner knew just what to do, because you just kick into fight or flight mode, right? Honestly, both people, everyone involved can be doing that. So normalizing this, right? It can happen. Supporting this, that this can be a positive birth experience. There was one woman when I was working in another state, and she had her baby on the side of the road. She was driving herself to the hospital. She lived in a rural area and had to drive in, and she pulled off an exit and had her baby in some gas station parking lot, and then drove herself the rest of the way to the hospital. That's pretty wild. Sometimes we've had, babies born off the side of the freeway. And this is a cool story, right? But we want it to also to be a safe story, right? With good outcomes. So yeah, give a little thought. What would you do? What would you do? It probably isn't going to happen, but what would you do if you're going to have a precipitous birth? So I am fascinated with precipitous birth. I think it puts me in a little bit of a birth high. I'm like, wow, the body is so incredibly amazing. So maybe you have heard of this. Maybe you've, seen stories about this, had precipitous birth stories. So put in the back of your mind, what if this were to happen to me? Or if you're a doula, if you're someone supporting birth, how would you support this situation? Sometimes it requires just as much emotional support during the postpartum as it does during the labor. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So that kind of brings us to the end of what I love to chat about with precipitous birth. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful experience. Hopefully it can be a positive experience. The hospital staff can jump into action very quickly if needed. And sometimes we've called ahead and they'll meet us in the lobby or in the, emergency entrance or whatever. But yeah, I love a good precipitous birth, especially when we can get to be where we want to be, get everybody who we want to have be there in place. And then it can be a pretty intense but positive experience is my hope for people. Anyway, thanks for chatting with me today about precipitous birth. I don't wish one upon you or anyone for that matter, but they do happen. So do what you can to be prepared. And that's what's cool about birth. We want to be kind of prepared for everything and anything, and then we will wait and see what happens. Thanks for hanging with me today. As always, please reach out to those you love. Please reach out to those who need a little love. Tuck someone deep in your heart. Think of them, make a connection with them. Reach out to a friend or family member today, and we need each other. We need that human connection. So be that human connection for someone. You will be rewarded for it, and so will they. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Ordinary Doula podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning. Episode credits will be in the show notes. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many aspects of giving birth.